printed 3 times, correct? Many will tell this answer rightly in the interview because of this becomes so common. Next question that I ask is with what interval? With what interval it is printing 3? For example, 3, 1 second, 3, 1 second, 3. Or 1 second delay, 3, 3, 3. No delay, all 3 at once, 3, 3, 3, suddenly. Now again candidates get confused because nowhere this is explained. Hello all, welcome back to Uncommon Geeks. Myself Asant, I hope you all doing well. In case if you're seeing for the first time on the internet, I'm a content creator. I help people to clear their interviews. I have a lot of beautiful series in the past which has been appreciated by many. So today I'm back with a brand new video where I'll be discussing about complete interview preparation guide for front-end developer. So if you are applying for any role, JavaScript related, just a plain JavaScript, HTML and CSS, Node.js, Vue.js, AngularJS, React.js, React Native, no matter any JS role that you're applying, there'll be one common round where the fundamentals of JavaScript are tested. So because all the frameworks that has evolved over the JavaScript, they can come anytime soon. Like new framework can come tomorrow. But JavaScript as a language hasn't changed. So the fundamentals of JavaScript are very, very essential for all these roles. So there'll be at least 1 or 2 rounds. Even if there is, let's say there is a round for testing your React skills, React.js skills. In that round also, interviewer will be asking you some more the other JavaScript questions to make sure are you familiar with JavaScript concepts. Then only you'll become a very good programmer in React. Correct? So all the topics, important topics that are asked and some questions in that also I'll be discussing in this video. So please watch the video till the end, not for any other reason, just for you to clear your interview. Okay? Without wasting further time, let's get started. So I have created one small presentation, okay, which covers different topics that are most commonly asked in the interview. I'm going to talk about the topic a little bit, okay. Then probably I'll get into the questions that are asked in the topic. If required, I'll also show you the official documentation of this topic, what all it contains, okay. So let's get started with the very first topic, that is hosting. Okay, hosting is considered to be one of the very, very important interview questions. In fact, I have overall, if I say if the interviews that I've taken and interviews that I've given, I have covered more than 200 interviews. Okay, there has been very, very few interviews where hosting concepts are directly or indirectly are not asked. Very few interviews. In most interviews, the first, second, or third, top third question in most of my interviews with respect to JavaScript was hosting. Okay, why it is very important, I've explained in my other videos. I'll try to link that on the screen also in description. But in very simple words, hosting, whenever you're learning hosting, there are a lot of things you learn internally, like the variable declaration, the scope of the variables. So interviewer, by asking one question, he can check a lot of your different skills of yours, due to which the hosting has become very, very important. Let's see the definition. So, and very important, this video is going to be slightly longer. I don't know how many minutes, but it's going to be slightly longer. You have to bear with me because it's going to be one video that will brush up all your basic skills of the JavaScript interview preparation. Okay, so official definition: JavaScript hosting refers to process whereby the interpreter appears to move the declaration of function, variable, classes to the top of their scope prior to execution of the code. Correct? So in case if you go to the official documentation, correct? I'm opening the official documentation here with respect to hosting, correct? So JavaScript hosts same thing. The definition was taken by here itself. I am no one to give a definition for hosting. Whatever the definition in Mozilla, same definition I am also giving. Okay. So here, if you see, the same is explained. JavaScript hosting refers to move the declaration of function, variables, class to the top of their scope. So this is fine. I guess most of you are aware basics of hosting. So this is not like absolute beginner video. You need to have some basic sense of JavaScript to get along. Okay, this is like a brush up for your entire interview preparation. So in case if you really don't know what is hosting itself, I'll link this my playlist in the description. So where I've clearly I created 3 videos and explained the hosting very much in detail, like how my first 5 questions that are very important from hosting, 5 questions that cover the hosting. All of these are very detailedly explained in this series. Okay, so but in very simple words, hosting, as you know, is like a moving the declaration to the top of the functions. Correct? So in very simple words, let's say these are the examples which I want to discuss, but let me keep it a little slow. I'll give a small thing to explain. Okay. Let's say you're creating variable x and you're logging log x. Okay. If I do node hosting, so undefined. See, you're trying to you're tried printing the value of x after it is declared. You're getting undefined, which is fine because no value was initialized. So it has been declared but not defined or not initialized. Same if I do on top. I'm sorry. node hosting. So you're seeing undefined. Even in this case also you're seeing undefined, correct? So why you're seeing undefined when you're trying to access the variable even before it is declared? This is because of the hosting, where the JavaScript interpreter appears to move the declaration to the top of the block. Okay. So first question that I ask whenever candidate gives this answer, I'll ask first give the definition of hosting. Many try to write and explain. Okay. I kind of stop them there itself. I'll say don't write, try to express it first. The reason being, as an engineer, you will not get an option to always write and explain, correct? You need to coordinate with a lot of teams, so you should have at least moderate communication skills to explain the technicalities, correct? So what is hosting? Candidate says moving declaration to the top of the block or top of the scope is known as the hosting. Okay, so then I'll ask, is it really moving the definition or declaration or declaration to the top of the block? Then they're like, yeah, it is moving, but not like you cannot see it. It is happening in the background, or some people will say backend. So it's not backend. Please don't say that. At least say it is happening in background. Okay, fine. So then I'll ask, is it really happening where the declaration is moving to the top of the block? Some say yes, some will get confused. So why I'm saying this is, don't read thing as it is. So if somebody saying somebody has written a blog and you start following it, no. Look at this definition carefully again. Hosting refers to the process whereby the interpreter appears to move the declaration of a function, variable, class to the top of their scope prior to execution of the code. Here, very important thing that you have to notice here is it is appears to move. It is not moving. It just creates an impression that it is moving. Why? Because it is just as you know, JavaScript execution is two step. First step is initialization, second step is execution. In first step of initialization, it will allocate memory to the variable x. Okay, so in this scope, let's say it is declared like this, whether you can make the above function or any other thing. So now what is happening, whenever the compiler is running through, the interpreter is running through this block, in the first run variable x is allotted a memory, correct? And in the second run is when the console.log is printing. So for us, it feels like variable x is present here, correct? Variable x is present here and the value given is undefined. So this is just appears to or feels like, but this is not what happening. Okay. And even in the background also, this is what not happening. Very careful about this point. Okay. It just appears just because of the memories allocated to variable x, you are able to access it even before it has been initialized. Okay. That is what hosting is. Now you also know that once after the candidate asks this question, the next question I ask is about all these. Like I can say one after the other, similar to multiple choice question. I'll ask whether let is hoisted. And some say yes, some say no. And then I'll ask whether const is hoisted. Some say yes, some say no. Okay. I mean, most will know this answer already, but let me clarify. The variable created with let, const, var, all the three are hoisted. I think this point, I think somewhere you bookmark and keep. Variable created with let, var, and const. All the three variable creations are hoisted. Okay. Very first point. Then what is the difference? So variable created with var is hoisted and initialized with a value of undefined. Okay. So only whenever you're trying to create variable x, it is coming as undefined. But let and const are also hoisted, but they are not initialized with any value. Okay. And they are in a temporal dead zone. So in a range where they cannot be accessed. So let and const are hoisted, but their memory is allotted, but there is no value that is initialized to that. So until the let and const are defined, you will not be able to use them. Okay, be clear about this very first, because still whenever I ask this question, the interview candidates are getting confused. Let and const are hoisted or not? They are hoisted. So if candidate has answered these three questions correctly, first explain hosting definition properly, let and const are hoisted or not. Third question that I ask is whether functions are hoisted. Okay, then many tell yes, functions are hoisted. I have seen very less candidates who say functions are not hoisted. Most say functions are hoisted, and that is absolutely right. Functions are hoisted. Okay. Then next question I'll ask is why functions need to be hoisted. Correct. So you know functions are hosted. Why functions are hosted? This is again a very important concept. Then I'll ask, somebody will not be able to answer. Then I'll ask him, you know the Java, you know C#, where everything is inside the class, correct? So you are able to call the function, etc. But JavaScript is not like that. And why hosting is present only in JavaScript and not other languages? Even Python has it, but not any object-oriented programming language are not having hosting. Then candidates start linking like that, correct? So I'll answer that question also. Why function need to be hosted? In fact, I've answered this in my other hosting video as well. which I showed you in my channel. Okay, so if you see here, if you have a function test, if you have a function test, okay, in fact this was my first example that I explained in my hosting series, but many are not finding time to watch the entire series, so I'm quickly summarizing it here. Okay, so if you see now, test and test here as well. So you want to invoke a function before and after it has been declared. This is something common that we all do when in our day-to-day programming, correct? So to make this accessible, there has to be a way. Unlike Java or C Sharp, JavaScript doesn't have a class. Everything is not tied to a class, correct? There has to be another way where we can do this. So hosting of a function is very, very essential. Okay, this is the third question. Then let's say this also people are asked, or if they have not answered now at least you know. The next question I'll ask is arrow functions are hosted? Generally ask whether a normal functions are hosted. Then I'll ask arrow functions are hosted. Many again get confused. No, arrow functions are not hosted. Okay. So these are the things that basically I'll ask even before I getting into questions. So these are you conceptually clear? Then I'll ask you the snippet driven questions. Lot of snippets I've already discussed in the this series that I was mentioning. Here in each video you would see lot of snippets. In this I guess 5, in this I guess 4. Many questions I've discussed throughout the series. Okay. So that also you can watch to get more information. Here I'll just summarize few questions. Okay. Now let us start by the first question in hosting. As I mentioned, this video is going to be slightly lengthier, so please stay with me. Okay. Now, even before I start showing you the first question, I have the simple request. Okay. So see, I think most of you watching my videos since quite some time, or this is the first video you might have landed. At least whatever you saw till now, quite impressive, I believe. Correct? Some things that are not usually taught on the internet. There are many videos, but very few have summarized you for the interview preparation. Correct? So it is how difficult it is to like this video and comment about what are the work I'm doing. Comment anything, whether if you're liking the entire whatever you heard so far, please comment like that. Or if you're not liking, let's say I can improvise somewhere, please comment that. Please like the videos. By liking you more and more, the videos will appear in lot of screens of lot of people's screen. We call what the YouTube calls it impression. More impression is more people will click the video. More clicks means lot. My content will reach a lot of people. I have a noble cause of helping people to clear their interview. Okay, so that can be possible only if this video reaches to a lot of people. So please like and comment before you continue watching the video. Thank you so much. Now let us go to the first video. Okay, so here the first, sorry, not first question, not the first video. Here the first question is you're trying to call function 1 and function 2. Okay, where function 1 I've written a message like I'll subscribe to Geeks for Geeks. If you are not subscribed, please do that. Geeks for Geeks is my channel name. And second function is welcome to Geeks for Geeks. Okay, so you're invoking both the function. So guess the output. This is a question. This is very simple question. There are quite variations of this question that is asked across. So I've also picked this question. Try to guess the output for of this particular function, this particular block, I can say. Yeah. If you know, please mention hosting question number 1 and your answer. If you don't know, let me like an execute, but try to relate all the topics that I explained about the hosting so far. What I asked, is functions hosted in JavaScript? I said yes. So is it a normal function in JavaScript? Yes. So function 1 will be able to invoke this? Yes. What about the second function? This is always there will be a interviewer wants to create a confusion in you and see how you're reacting to that. Okay, so now this, if you see function 2, correct, if this was not there, okay, most would have said welcome to Geeks for Geeks is the output. But now just because this is there, you start getting confused. So there is always a combination of one thing that looks very firm and another thing that creates a confusion among both. Okay, between both. So be in that mindset and don't allow interviewer to confuse you. If you're strong at fundamentals, what I said, this is an arrow function, correct? Arrow functions are hosted? No. So arrow functions are not hosted, but the variable created with var keyword is hosted? Yes. So then what will happen? So this block is not hosted function expression, but only the variable created as var is hosted. So function 1 will print this. Function 2, you're trying to call a function, correct, which is not at all hosted. So you don't have access to that. So you should get an error, correct? So now if I run, but only if var function 2 was there is no function block, then you are got undefined. But you have a function, you're trying to invoke the function, then definitely you will get error. Okay, so you are seeing the same thing. So where you are seeing function 1, which I'm triggering first, welcome to Gigs for Gigs, and function 2 is giving you an error. Correct? So first question is solved. Now let's go to the second question. Okay, All these questions I've already put in my GitHub. You can go and practice them. Okay, I'll link that in the description. Second question, very classic problem. So many scenarios this question is asked. In fact, I think I have also asked in my other series, but still a lot of get confused to answer this. Okay. So if you know the answer, mention hosting question number 2 and put your answer in the comment section, then continue watching. Okay. So if not, you're calling a function called get rate. Okay. So then you are trying to see if rate is undefined. Then you have initialized let rate is equals to, let's make it var to introduce more confusion. Var rate is equal to 6, then you're returning the rate, correct? Then you are returning else and returning 10. Okay. So what is the output? You're calling get rate. Rate is undefined. So rate is 10 here. So rate is not undefined. Then you're returning the value 10. Correct. So the most of the time, whatever the answer that I get in the interview will be 10. Okay. So many times interviewer will try to give you a hint by asking questions like, are you sure? Most of the time when interviewer saying are you sure, are there for two reasons. One, they are sure you're telling a wrong answer and they're giving a second option, so try to think. Or second reason, whenever they ask are you sure, you will be damn sure, but still they want to create a confusion in you, so don't give chance to that. If they say are you sure, if you're really sure, then you tell damn sure this is the answer. If you're not really sure, then try to analyze it once again and try to guess the output. Okay, so you don't use this, use both opportunities for betterment of yours. Okay, now uh, most will say answer as 10, but let us see what is the answer. Answer is 6. Two types of interviewers again. One who will like totally give a negative credit for this question. Another who will try to give a option to you and they'll tell, can you deduce why it is 6? Okay, if you don't know what is deduce, please say the meaning for the deduce and put that in the comment section. Okay, so some people will ask you to deduce why it is 6. Now uh, why that this happens is, it is not like always people will look for a problem solver. People will also look for somebody who can analyze and tell. They don't want you to know everything and come, but at least whenever it is you're given an opportunity, are you able to check it and tell? So they will see where rate is equal to, some starts thinking, some check the problem always with a prejudice as in they will not think something out of the box. They only try to align it to whatever they know. How they think, I'll show you. So where rate equals to 10, rate equals to has to be 10, then it is coming to, no, I think the compiler has a problem. It cannot become 10. It should not become 6. It should be 10 because rate is already defined here. This is a blunder that candidates do in the interview. See, how come compiler be wrong? Okay, I do understand. Depending on compiler version, some things here and go be there, but you have to be damn sure to tell such statements in interview, because interviewer gets pissed off if you say like this is happening, compiler is showing wrong, or in lab, sometimes in engineering, na, lab exam, people will say this, if you go to this computer, output will not come. So these are very stupid reasons an engineer can give. Correct. So first, don't give such silly reasons. Second, some people will try to analyze. So you many will tell like variable credit where keyword is hosted. Correct. So you already said that. Then what you are doing? So variable credit where keyword is hosted. Also, people very explicitly they say variable credit with where keyword has a global scope or a function scope. Then what is that function or global scope? So it should be accessible everywhere. Correct. So that means variable credit where is accessed here because of hosting, and it is a global or a blocks function scope property. Correct. Now it has been hosted and defined undefined. Correct. So now get rate has two variables with the rate. One is a local rate, one is a global rate. Whenever there are two variables with same name, what is the priority? Local function gets a higher priority than the global function. That's all. So rate is equal to undefined. Correct? Where this statement is being true, then you're returning rate, which is 6. Correct? It is very simple. Okay, but only thing is like you should show keen analysis. Most of the time interviewers will not ask you very easy question. Whenever this is not a difficult question also, if you are confident about topic, you'll be definitely able to answer this. Okay, so this is all about the hosting. I cannot spend more time, but all of you can learn hosting very much in detail by watching these 3 videos. Totally you will understand the entire hosting concept by watching these 3 videos. Okay, now let's go to the next topic. Okay, if I go to the presentation, the next topic is set timeout. See, set timeout is again very important topic because it is tricky. It is not like set timeout itself is important. Because of the trickiness of the set timeout, this becomes very common interview question because they want to fuzzle you in by asking set timeout, set interval, promise, etc. Okay, so this is the definition again taken from Mozilla. Set timeout method calls a function after number of milliseconds. Very simple. Correct. So if I go to the definition, here in set timeout, same for a specified piece of a time, and the time code once expires. See, very simple words, JavaScript is a single-threaded interpreted programming language. So as it is single-threaded, the execution happens sequentially. But there are certain activities that will take time. For example, API call. Or for example, you want to do a certain things in a periodic interval. For example, refreshing the screen. Correct? So after every 10 seconds, refresh the screen and get some details. So these are things that should happen periodically. So main thread cannot wait for this periodicity. So it should go away and do the other things. Whenever this is required, come back and process. Correct? This is called event loop, and a lot of things you can search on the web regarding the event loop and understand that carefully. Okay. But in very simple words, set timeout is one of the capability that will help code to run asynchronously. Synchronously means one after the other. Asynchronously means you encounter one, go to the next, and this will be executed separately. That is asynchronity, and executing one after the other is a synchronity. Correct? So there are many ways in JavaScript you can achieve asynchronity. One is set timeout, another is set interval, another is promise. There are something called observables, many other ways also. But these are the four very, very common ways of getting asynchronity in JavaScript. Okay. Now, so this is basics of set timeout. Then let me ask you one simple question about set timeout. So this is the question. When discussing about closures, I'll discuss more questions on set timeout. Okay. So let us see this question now. So where set timeout function. So this entire block. The question what they ask is what is the output? Guess the output. So one very very mistake, very common mistake that interview candidates have done that I've seen is suddenly guess the output. Don't delve into problem at all. Don't check line by line. Just you have understood one or two lines, then tell. Don't do that. Some interviewers are good enough. They'll give you time to give a second answer. Some interviewers are not like that. You said the answer, no, go on. Especially tier 1 interviewers will be always like that. They wouldn't give you second chance of correcting your answer. They will, if first chance you are not able to do it, they think you are lacking patience. You're not able to interpret the program properly. Especially if you're a senior role, mostly that question is done for you. So take your moment, analyze the things properly before giving the answer. So if I am given this question, what I'll do, I'll tell. So I have a function. So this function is a self-invoking function. That means it doesn't need anyone to trigger it. It will be triggered automatically. And as soon as this function is triggered, the entire block is gone. Okay. I mean, this is done executing. Then I have a console.log where I'm printing 1. Definitely this is something that should execute first. Then I have a set timeout with 1000 millisecond or 1 second. Then I have another set timeout with 0 second. Then I have a console.log 4. So here, what is the tricky part? I would identify the tricky part. This is the tricky part. Okay, why this is a tricky part? It's a set timeout with 0 second. Correct? So, and you have a console.log 1 and 4. Definitely 1 will be printed first. There is no doubt about it. Most will be able to guess this. Then people will be sure this will execute at the last because it has a 1 second delay. People get confused between these two, whether it is 0 or 4. Correct? I am aware of the concept that whenever JavaScript main thread encounters set timeout, it doesn't bother how much delay you have given. It will straight away move that block into another memory location where it has to finish. It should finish its execution and wait for the main thread to get free. So whether it is 0 or 1, it doesn't bother. Okay. So both the set timeouts are gone into a separate memory location. So if you read the event loop concept detail, you'll be able to get to know. I'll link that in the description. Okay. So now console.log, we're printing 1, then I'll be printing 4, then I'll be printing 3, then I'll be printing 2. See, if you look at the numbers here, it is 1, 4, 2, 3. It is also created added in a way to create a confusion in you, where 1, 2, 3, 4 seems to be the way it should execute. Correct? So many will tell 1, 2, 3, 4 just by looking at the numbers. So don't do that. So output is 1, 4, 2, 3. Let me execute. No, 1, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Node set timeout 1, 4, 3 and wait for a second and it will print 2. So this is another important question. So they will ask you, let's say you say this 1, 4, 3, 2. Then they will tell, is there any delay between each printing? Yes, there is a delay. That also you need to specify. If you don't specify the delay, some companies, especially the tier 1 companies, they will cut the marks for that also. Correct? So it is 1, 4, 3, 1 second delay and 2. That is the right answer. So be this much specific. Let's say this is the first question asked to you and you said like this 1, 4, 3, wait for a second and then 2 is printed. They'll be like, yeah, this guy knows the each and every aspect of this question. Then they will also be in that mindset of us, like in the mindset, you know something. whenever they ask me the next question. If you are not giving that vibe, like you know something, then they always try to trick you so that you'll not be able to answer the next question. Okay. So this is about the set timeout. Very basics I've discussed. More I'll discuss in the closures. Okay. Next concept is closure. Closure is a function having access to parent scope even after a parent function has closed. Very simple. I know you, most of you are aware of closures, and it's very important interview concept. Okay. So if I go back and to the official documentation again. Okay. So if you see here, closures. Okay, very important topic for the interview. Okay, and before I explain closure, I'm just calling out once again. Please like the video. It's been already close to 25 minutes. I think I'm trying to give a good content. If you like the video, please like it on YouTube channel, and do not forget to comment something. You liking the comment, you want me to make some changes, please comment that so that I get more impression and a lot of people will watch my video. Please do that before continue watching. Okay, now closure. Closure is a combination of function bundled together with a difference to its surrounding state. Okay, lexical environment, what we call. And a closure gives you access to outer function. See, in this is a typical example where you're trying to call the function. Let me copy this, okay, and try to execute in JS Fiddle, okay, and let's try. I think the video would last for at least 15 more minutes. So stay tuned with me. You will not disappoint. Lot of important question I'll answer going forward. Okay, I'm running the code. So I'm getting the Mozilla. So what happened is I triggered a function called init, correct? In this function, this variable called Mozilla declared variable in name whose value initialized to Mozilla. What it is doing is it is calling the display name function inside this function. So console.log name. So this display name, which is an inner function to init, has access to the variables of the outer function. That in very simple words is called closures. Okay. There are a lot of variations of this, but in very simple words, function with its lexical environment, which is the parent's lexical environment, is called closure. Correct. If you see the definition again, our closure is the function having access to parent scope even after parent function has closed. This you have to specify even after parent function has closed. Okay, because to be very precise about your answer. Now let's see few of the very important interview questions. Generally, closures and the timeouts are tied together. Okay, lot of fancy questions are created with this. Okay, so I'm going to discuss most of the questions. Definitely, I'll try to trick you. Okay, don't get trucked and try to answer the questions with very carefully. Okay, very first question, most common. Everywhere you might have seen this. Correct. I'll tell even in this question how many mistakes you will do in the interview. Okay, let's say you're calling example one. Okay, if you know the answer, mention closure, question number one, and your answer. What will most of them? What will the answer will tell? So I think maybe let us make it star only to avoid confusion. Okay. So where we have something called example one, and this question is also in GitHub. You can copy for practice purpose. Okay. So where how I'll be analyzing the question, I'll show you. So we have a for loop, I less than 3 and I plus plus. We have a set timeout, which is running in a loop, which is running for 1000 into I. So that means a second. So first time it is a 0 second, second time it is 1 second, next time it is 2 second. Correct. When I becomes 3, this for loop will fail. And as you know, the for loop runs much quicker. After for loop is finished execution, the set timeout starts the execution. Because of property of closure, this and the variable created with var keyword has a block scope. All the timeouts that have been created and all the logs console.log which is present inside will have a same reference of I. Okay, so due to which I value by the time when they finish, let's say like one timeout, second timeout, and third timeout. There are 3 blocks, all pointing to same I. Okay, so when the time the timeout is finished, the value that I will be presenting is the last value of I, which is 3. Correct. So what we'll be doing is 3 times 3 is printed. I think most will be able to deduce this. Very first, tell what mistake people will do. This question is very commonly asked with I less than 5. Some people will tell 5 will be printed 5 times. Arey yaar, question to dekh lo. Correct? It is not even 5. It is just 3. Correct? So don't look at any problem with a prejudice. Interviewer will do a small variation and you will do a mistake. Okay? Fine. Now you said this, like what is the thing you said is 3 is printed 3 times. Correct? Many will tell this answer rightly in the interview because of this becomes so common. Next question that I ask is with what interval? With what interval it is printing 3? For example, 3 1 second, 3 1 second, 3, or 1 second delay, 3 3 3. No delay, all 3 at once, 3, 3, 3, suddenly. Now again, candidates get confused because nowhere this is explained. Correct? All the videos that you watch on the YouTube, they will only say what is the output, but they are not focusing on the interval. So then you will get tricked. So now we should be able to analyze it from the delay perspective also. So the first timer is having a delay of 0 second because I is 0. So second timer is having a delay of 1 second. Third timer is having a delay of 2 seconds. Correct. So by the time the first timer is running, there is the second timer has also finished 1 second. By the time that is finished, the third timer also has finished a second. Okay. So you should think in that direction and try to give the exact answer. Let me run and show what is happening. Closure. See, there is a 1 second delay each. Why? So timer one is having a 0 second. Okay. Timer, okay, let me make it timer 0 only. The first timer. Timer 1 is having 1 second. So timer 2 is having 2 second. Timer 2 is having 2 second delay. Correct. So first this is printed. By the time this is printed, that's 1 second is already, and this should execute after 1 second. Correct. After this will execute 1 second delay. So when this 1 second delay happened, here also 1 second got minused, correct? So now only one more second it has to wait. So it will wait one more second, and again after 1 second delay, the 3 is printed, correct? So be very, very mindful of this. Don't think like after 1 second is done, then 2 seconds. No. After 1 second, when this 1 second is elapsed, here also 1 second is elapsed because all the timers are created in a parallelly, correct? So it will also print after 1 second. Be very, very mindful about this. Then there was a question like, what if I make it plus? Correct? What if you make it, it will plus? So in that case, I'll just to avoid. Sorry. Okay, let's make it plus. So 1000 plus 0 is 1000. So first timer will run at 1 second. 1000 plus 1 is 1001, again 1 second. 1000 plus 2, again 1 second with some milliseconds. Correct? Now what will be the output? Do you still expect a delay in each display? What will be your thought process? If you know the answer, please mention that in the comment section. Okay, if not, let me execute it. All the 3 printed almost instantly because the first timer took a 0 second, second timer took 1 second, and third timer also took the same. Correct? So they all printed almost at the equal interval. So if you're mindful, you'll be able to answer this. Okay. Now let's go to example number 2. Let's cut this. And like I mentioned, this question is already in my GitHub. You can take it from my GitHub, okay, and practice it. Do not forget to like my GitHub project, what we call starring my GitHub project, okay. So this small variation of the question, okay. There has some problem in running here, so I'll put it in JS Fiddle. Small variation, okay. What I have done here is the function whatever was here, correct. Maybe let me zoom in a bit so that it is much easy for you to see. What I have done is this inner function, whatever was there, that I have made a self-invoking function. Okay, self-invoking function, what they call iffy, will execute automatically. It will not wait for any external trigger. Correct. So in this case, what is the output? You know already the concept, you already guessed the output in the previous, again you get confused here. Why you are getting confused is because you really don't know the concept, you only know the question. You're expecting the same question to be asked in the interview and you want to clear. That will happen only if both of you watch the same video. If you get an interviewer like me, I'm not boosting, but I know the concepts in depth. So if you tweak a problem, right, I like to tweak the problem and see your approach. So then it will be very difficult for you to clear the interview. So don't learn the question, learn the concept. Okay. So if you see here, self-invoking function, what is the duty of self-invoking function? Trigger immediately. Correct. Inside set timeout you have it, but what is it is responsibility? Trigger immediately. It will don't wait. Correct. So in that case, what will happen? It is as the I reference. So here still I'm having var only, but what will happen? So it will print 0, 1, 2, 3 with 2 I cannot print because for loop will be exited before it becomes equal to 3. Correct. Let me run the code for you. So 0, 1, 2. So let me try expanding it. What is the delay? Can you see, is there any delay? There is no delay because set timeout self-invoking function job is only that it will trigger immediately. But how? Even though it is inside, I'm sorry, self-invoking function will inside set timeout also triggering immediately. But how set timeout is not able to prevent it? Because set timeout is set to execute after a period, but still set timeout is not able to prevent it. Why? At least read this on the internet. I mean, this is something homework for you. Why a self-invoking function present inside a set timeout is triggering immediately, not waiting for that period to get over. okay, that you can please read on the internet and comment if you get the solution. If you don't get the solution, also comment. I'll try to explain that. Okay. Now, this is the example 2. Let's check the example 3. Okay. Simple one, example 3. Okay. I think you're enjoying. We are already covered almost 35 minutes. I think you're enjoying the content that I'm making. Okay. Please like and comment if you're enjoying. If you're not, also add the comment what is making you boring. Now, example 3. This is again quite small variation of the above question. This is also discussed in many other YouTube videos and the blogs. Okay. So what the variation is here, you have a set timeout, you have a normal function, okay, not self-invoking or anything, but that function has been triggered and the value of I is passed to this. Okay, value of I you're passing, and that is, I mean, k and the I are basically the same. Just to avoid confusion, I'm referring here as a k. Okay, the argument that you're passing is, first you'll pass 0, second you'll pass 1, third you'll pass 2. Correct. Whenever it is a third, the loop will be exited. Now what will be the output? Console.log of k, what will be the output? Let me put star only, which is most commonly asked. Don't say again something related to 5. We are running the loop only till 3. Okay. What will be the output? You know, whenever you are invoking a function and passing an argument to it, correct? So that whatever the argument that you're passing, function forms a closure. So the each argument that you're passing is independent. So it is not relying on any other external scope. Okay, when there is nothing internally, it will look for the external. But whenever there is something internally, then that is the gives a higher priority. So you formed the 3 functions now. Okay, where the value of I was different. It is not the same as the above example where variable I was referenced by all the timeouts. No, in this case it is all different. So now if I run this, 0, 1 and 2. The reason being, so 0, 1 and 2, because every time it is from a different block, okay, with a different i's that you are passing. So there is no trace of variable I and it is global or a functional scope. Okay. Now the delay also is easily predictable because of this I, 0, 1 and 2. I already explained the similar delays found here as well. Okay. So that's about closures. Closure and set timeout has become a deadly combination for interview. Okay. So I covered most common question here. And in case if you go here also, I've discussed a lot of important concepts. Okay. So where, you know, these are all about functions. You can watch that also, very very important. So this is another important question called counter dilemma. Okay, I muted myself on the video now to avoid confusion. So counter dilemma in JavaScript, again a concept related to the closure, very very important. Okay, whenever the interviewer asks if you know counter dilemma without by yourself, interviewer will be very happy because it's a very common dilemma. Okay, JavaScript developers have tried to watch this video. Then you also have uh, 5 questions that make you master of functions. Okay, somewhere I've also explained the closures in very much detail. See, 6 questions that you cannot skip with respect to closures. Very, very in detail. I've explained, picked the questions and explained about the closure. So that is part 2 of this. Almost another 6 questions are discussed here. So many beautiful questions about the closure discussed here. If you seen this video and that video too, definitely you will be able to solve most of the closure related interview questions, because I don't teach you the questions, I teach you concepts. If you conceptually strong, definitely you will be able to crack the interview. Okay, now, so next question here, next topic is, and the last topic is promise and the currying. Okay, to both the topics, let me explain it together. See, promise, I made 4 beautiful videos here explaining every aspect of promise one by one. So how to create a promise, how to resolve a promise, reject a promise, promise.all settled. All the things I've tried explaining very much in detail here. It is just around, again, 30-35 minutes. Watch the 4 videos. I'll guarantee all the questions that could be possibly asked in promise are covered in this. So watch that and you won't regret. Okay, I'm not going to explain that again in this video because it is most of a theory, because promise is not having any tricky questions like I explained about closure. It is having a lot of theoretical questions which you can definitely learn by watching this. Then the next thing is currying. Okay, currying is also a very very important concept, but it is not like so frequently asked in the interview. Some interviewers ask, some interviewer doesn't do not ask. People, for those who don't know what is currying, it is like this. You have a function called sum. Okay, you have a function called sum where you will try to call it this way. Okay, where 10 comma 20. Okay, interviewer just curious to know, can you deduce this what is 10 comma 20 and try to write a function for this. Okay, so that I very much in detail I've explained here in the this closure function currying. In fact, I've explained a very very important concept here, like how do you make a function closure and a normal function also. like the same function behaving in a currying way and non-currying way. It's not that easy. Okay, so I've explained this very much in detail in this video. So please watch this video. I'll try to link this entire series and specific videos that I talk also in the description. Please watch this video. Currying can be this just 10 minutes video. If I try explaining here also it'll become 10 minutes, so I'm just linking you there. Okay, please watch that currying video. Definitely you won't regret. You will learn a very important interview question. Okay, so this is all about this entire thing, but there is another very important point that I want to mention. As you know, this is not it. There are many other wonderful JavaScript concepts which are generally asked in the interview. These category, whatever I made, are most common. There is something called a little bit of a second priority. Okay, let's say top 6, they are than the next 6. So, but even they are very important considering lot of other interviews. Like tier 1, right? They can ask you any question. Like what is history API in JavaScript? Or they will ask you, tell me more about deep copy and shallow copy. There are many other interesting topics which are asked in the interview. I am planning to make a part 2 of this series, but that I'll be able to make only if I get a lot of love from you. If you like, share, and comment about this video, and subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed, definitely I'll try to make a second part of this where I'll cover more topics in a similar way with a lot of questions. Okay. If you liked whatever I've made so far in the video, please like this video on my YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel Uncommon Geeks. And all these questions are put in my GitHub repository. Star my project in GitHub repository, clone the project, practice all the question, watch my other series that I was referring in detail. I'll link that on the screen, also in the description. Watch that entire series. Definitely you won't be regretted. Okay, you will enjoy the series and you will learn a lot of things about the interview preparation. Okay, and lot of Medium articles I have written. Go to my Medium blogs to get a code snippets in a very short duration and practice them also. Thank you so much for watching the series. Catch you in the next video.